Okay, so Twitch Thoughts are basically a group of people that you go on Twitch, and they're basically a bunch of cam girls that just expect you to send them money. And really, in the end, none of these people deserve any of that money because at the end of the day, they're just manipulating people and they don't really give anything in exchange. Meanwhile, you could head on over to another website and just go there and watch like free porn or whatever. You know, you don't have to give your money. And even if you had money, you shouldn't give it to them because they don't deserve it. Not until they show something or do something that's worth your time. And I don't mean necessarily mean it has to be sexual. I mean like like for example, if you had a job, you get paid by the hour, you get paid salary. You're doing a certain task for a company in exchange for them paying you, so that way you can, pay your bills or go do whatever you want with said money. Support the economy, for example. Makes sense. But here's the thing, though. If there ever came a time where people build up an audience and they could make enough money on Twitch as a full-time job, the content that they make would very well depend on the money they're bringing in and the amount of viewers, and if they wanted to support said viewer for their content. So again, rather than e-bagging, what these Twitch girls should do is, put some good content out there, and then instead of like trying to pity or cast down their audience, they should embrace them. Be thankful that these people are willing to, support them when certain, times are rough, or, if people just feel like, they can make some money on the side here and there, depending on, how big your channel is and what your intention on Twitch is to be. But the problem is, it's like, people like Alinity can get away. It's just blatant favoritism, because women are more attractive than guys, obviously, and guys are easier to fool than women, even though women come off, in at least as far as the Twitch thought goes, are just there to manipulate people to make money because they know they can get away with it, and they know that a lot of guys are just born virgins, or better yet, a lot of guys are just there trying to look for somebody, and they think they have a shot with them, but it doesn't work because like take someone like Alinity or Amaranth. Both of them were in a relationship, and they try to play like they were never married or in a relationship, but like you find out that they were, and they're just committing actual fraud, falsely advertising all the money that they're bringing in. And Amaranth's bringing in more money than Alinity does, for example. But you'd be surprised like how much money some of these people make, and they don't even deserve it because, one, they're lying to people. Two, they're pretending that it's not their fault that any of this is happening, even though it is. And it just keeps getting worse, to the point where Twitch is literally turning into a softcore porn site. And mind you, Twitch is still owned by Amazon, and even Amazon doesn't want to do anything about it because, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But somehow, Twitch ends up being worse than YouTube as far as its censorship and favoritism goes. I used to think YouTube was far worse, but it seems like, it's all nonsense. And people have to find ways around things. Just leave it to one person to screw someone over, and then you got all these other people trying to shame you, like, oh, you have money, but you're not going to spend it? Like, one of my favorite, because here's the thing, I'll tell you what, I work 2 jobs. I'm a translator, and I work at a bar. As of right now, I can only translate stuff because where I'm from, basically, we can't go on, we basically are still on lockdown for this whole thing, even though this whole virus is stupid. But anyways, so, but there's people out there like, they're not able to make money, and they're expected to give the rest of their money to these Twitch girls who don't give anything in return, but still find a way to make more money. So it's a hypocrisy, and then they try to bring up sexualizing, it's wrong, but then they use sexual activities to try to sway people to give their money because, again, sex sells. But what gets me, though, is like, it doesn't, Why would you give them money? Like, even someone like me, I have money saved up, money that I could probably buy a house with the money I have. And what really gets me is that there's people out there that, even though they have money saved up, would not give any of these Twitch slots any sense. Because here's the thing. You could have a woman, like, it's just that. You could have a woman could walk into a bar and she could say to the whole audience, now let's say there's men and women there, so it doesn't have to just be men, and there's a woman there. It could be men and women there, plus, So so a woman could say, if, how much you guys would be willing to pay me money to, if they were to flash, if she was to flash or flash them, you'd probably see tons of wallets go up. People would pay money to see somebody get naked. But if it was a guy that did it, mind you, men and women are there, the guy would probably get his ass kicked, thrown out, called a pedophile, called a misogynistic jackass, and might even be sued by somebody because he's a piece of shit or something like that. And you see this blind, and you can see why it just doesn't work. That men and women have equal rights. Yeah, people shouldn't have equal rights, but the thing is, people are going to be treated differently regardless. It'll never work, and that's the hypocrisy with Twitch Thots. And they know this. They go out of their way to try to create this propaganda that, everybody needs to love each other, which is true, and then they turn around and they just demonize everybody to the point where they're creating problems, and then they play the victim card like, oh, well, you're just misogynistic because you didn't donate. And it's like, really? You really think that's the reason? Yeah, here you are, when you do it, it doesn't make you look bad, right? Even though people can see through those lies. And so, what really gets me about Twitch Slots is they just manipulate people because they know they can get away with it, but really in the end it's not even worth it because they're not, it's just easy money for them. Meanwhile, try them having to work a real job and, it doesn't work. They just refuse. They'd rather have somebody else take care of their problems, and even then you can see why people file divorces at some point. I can't tell you how many bars I've gone to where I've seen people just, one of the things that they complain about is they're like lucky to get out of the relationship they're in because they can't stand some of the people that they're with. And that's like, and it's true, people do it to themselves, If you create a problem and someone passes it on to you, well, then that person's either an asshole or they got some fucking problems that they can't figure out. I've dealt with, I'll tell you what, I've dealt with people in my life that would call me an asshole because I've done good things for them. And it's like, what, I can handle criticism, but then, I turn around and I tell people now, you can't call someone an asshole if they're telling you the truth because they didn't lie. Just because you didn't like what they had to say does not make them wrong. And it's the same thing with these Twitch Thots. You can say that you, like Alinity said, she thinks the word is derogatory, meaning like it's unprofound. Well then, what gives you any reason to complain when, you're like basically putting yourself out there more, like kind of like on the same level of Amaranth, but not with the same fan base. And you're making money head over heels just manipulating people, and you're getting away with it, and what you're doing is wrong. So why take logic and facts over favoritism? Or I'm sorry, vice versa. Why take favoritism over logic and facts? That it doesn't make any sense. People can see through that these people are just playing stupid because they know how to game the system. Why, it's like, it's crazy because even in this day and age, people act like they're entitled and they realize they don't have to try anymore and they can get away with stuff and it works because either way they're in the headline news. People say that, oh, you shouldn't do that. Like Alinity can, like, you would see like Alinity would, she flashed herself, and it's like, she didn't get banned until she asked somebody to ban her. And I'm just sitting there thinking, wow, you're sitting here literally bragging you can get away with anything, and this kind of favoritism, and then meanwhile, you know, you could have some other guy on there just doing his own thing, and they think he messed up, and then they make a big deal that's nothing, and then he gets banned. You know, so you're gonna sit here and say it's wrong when a man does it, but when a woman does it, it's just good business, right? Yeah, well, you know what, I'll tell you what. Just because people say something's true doesn't make it true. Favoritism ruins everything. And if you have a lot of money, you shouldn't give Twitch Thots anything. Keep it for yourself. The only time you should give money to somebody is if they truly deserve it, and if they really do need it, like in the sense that maybe they lost their job, for example, and they're looking for another one. But again, this is going to be a series of videos I make on this channel, so if you guys like what you have to say, you know, comment, rate, subscribe. But yeah, just put it this way, guys. You know, don't give Alinity, don't give Amaranth money. Anybody that's a Twitch Thought, anybody who, you know, because again, you know, if you're going to pay someone for porn or anything, just go on the internet and watch it for free. You know, there's tons of it out there, tons of it better. And why would you even want to fantasize somebody about like Amaranth and Alinity when that's all they do is complain about stuff, but not in a good way, you know?